right, so this is a suggestion via a donation. The name of the video is Why Hearing Both Sides is Dangerous. This is coming from the channel Second Thought. Let's check it out. Let's go.
This episode and others like it are made possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon. In some other news, I recently started a podcast with Hakeem and Ugopnik. It's called The Deprogram, and it's a show dedicated to helping listeners shake off the capitalist programming we've all been subjected to over the years. We tackle all sorts of topics, from theory to current events to culture, and just generally have a good time. If that sounds like something you'd enjoy, be sure to check it out by following any of the links below.
Okay. The truth isn't always in the middle. Sometimes you have to pick a side. This week,
But I don't like picking sides.
We're talking about having left-wing political beliefs. Now, this might sound like we're running out of topics. Let's begin. Oftentimes, it can feel like having a strong, ideological, and staunchly left-wing political opinion is seen as an inherently bad thing, especially according to liberal politicians. Biden, for example, can almost always be found muttering about healing the nation.
Literally muttering. I'm not sure that he even creates complete sentences.
Reaching across
no offense.
the aisle, combating polarization, or not ceding to the extremes. Extremes there with an S at the end. Okay. If Democrats lost the latest election, it is always because they didn't listen or talk to the undecided voters in the center enough. And if they won, well, now it's time to reach across the aisle and do politics the right way by hearing the other side out. The way to go is always to push a little more towards the right and be a little more amenable to conservative discourse.
Generally, when it comes to like the left and the right, specifically in the United States of America, I don't really think there is much of a left in politics. There are people who act like there's a left, if that makes any sense, but there's really not really a left in politics. The current Democrat Party is most likely, at best, center-right. And keep in mind, this is me living in the United States of America, along with living in the country of Spain, where they have a lot of different parties, guys. So my whole idea of what a politician should be is very different from most likely the masses in the United States of America, guys, right? But yeah, this woman here, Nancy Pelosi, I'm pretty sure she's center-right, guys. But all right, let's get it.
Endless twists on these same slogans have been presented to us by liberal politicians for years, with the barely hidden assumption that it's simply the more grown-up, reasonable thing to do to have this kind of pragmatic approach to politics.
Okay.
To seek compromise above ideological commitment. To play the game of democracy, quote, the right way. Having opinions that are irreconcilable with the opposition is just being childish. The mature thing to do is sit down and talk and figure out a way to coexist, no matter what the other side says. And this makes sense when you understand how liberals think of politics in general. Liberals tend to understand politics as the debate of ideas. The motor of the political history car, for liberal thinkers and politicians, has long been idealism, successive debates on the nature of what is good and just. Whereas Marxists view the movement of politics through the lens of power distribution and materialism, liberals tend to believe that it is through reason and argumentation that ideas appear and enter into political conflict, and those that are right triumph, and those that are wrong fail to shape the world. The good always wins over the bad, and reason always comes out on top, if only in the long run. It can't go any other way because what determines what is good is the outcome of debate. Politics is therefore about who has the better arguments.
Guys, this was a really good debate. Ken Ham versus, Bill Nye the Science Guy. This was a really good debate if you guys haven't seen it. It was like religion versus atheism. It was a really good debate, but it's super long.
And in our neoliberal society, so heavily steeped in business juice, this is sometimes referred to as the marketplace of ideas thesis. It's a bit of a generalization, but for liberals, this is what politics is at its core. The debate of ideas. And it's a really attractive concept. But it doesn't always work like they expect it to. Like right now, for example. Bad ideas have been winning recently. Fascist, nationalist, and identitarian politics have been on the rise for years at this point throughout the liberal world. And it's not just ideas. Hate crimes too. Femicides, the killing of members of the LGBT community, anti-Semitism, the murder of Black and Asian Americans, all of them are trending upwards. Bad ideas are gaining political ground in the marketplace.
a lot of that has to do with like the lack of intelligence. And this may sound super crazy, but the wildest and most believed of these like situations tend to come from the people with like the least amount of overall intelligence. And that may sound crazy, guys, but there are a lot of people who believe in like a lot of these just straight oddball conspiracy theories. And they're running rampant, and these ideologies are being flooded into the mainstream for some reason. Would love to know how that's happening, right? But disregard anything and anyone that promotes this, obviously. But there are some that are more susceptible to believe every single thing that they hear without any type of study.
Trending upwards. Bad ideas are gaining political ground in the marketplace, and the results aren't good.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. It's not that suddenly fascist arguments were reworded in the perfect way, slipping into the unsuspecting minds of millions of conservatives in a feat of rhetorical trickery. Neither is it the case that conservatives are just dumb. No, it's because politics isn't all about ideas.
Right.
In other words,
yeah, I mean, listen. There's no side very specifically that is extremely unintelligent. Let's say, guys, but it's like a certain subsection of people just on this planet in the United States of America, very specifically, who are just they just believe every single thing that's said without any study. They just see this one thing. They see a meme and think that meme is reality. Bro, that meme is a meme. Right?
Words, ideas, and their success are not just a matter of argumentation. They are heavily conditioned by material circumstances. It's our current socio-political and economic context that gives fascist rhetoric a foothold and the means to be developed.
Okay.
Let me be more specific.
Go ahead.
What the neoliberal era has produced, which is to say massive inequality, the death of the welfare state compromise, and perpetual war, has been seized upon by fascist rhetoric, where socialists can explain this general worsening of conditions for all but an extremely wealthy minority through an analysis of systems and institutions. Fascists hijack these explanations and transform them by blaming what's wrong with the world not on systems, but on the existence of the wrong kind of people, thereby...
I've noticed that, and I always found that extremely interesting. Like, how are you going to say that certain people around the world are more susceptible to this one thing? For example, I may watch a video randomly, and it'll be talking about like crime statistics, not just crime statistics, but just crime in general, right? And there will be multiple comments in the comments talking about, so you're not going to make a video about how black people are dangerous? And I'm like, bro, do you know where you are? Like, I'm not dangerous. So why am I going to make a video about that? I'm sorry, I'm not a grifter, guys. There are a lot of them. There are enough of them on YouTube, trust me, who will say whatever you want to hear. That's not me, bro. Right? That is absolutely not something that I do. I have, I don't know, ethics?
By protecting existing institutions.
Morals?
And it works. The best predictor of whether someone voted for Trump in 2016 was racial resentment. And that's at least partly because plenty of people are happy to make sure it stays that way. The reason that Tucker Carlson has the most watched show in America and there are no leftists on major television networks isn't because he has the best ideas, but because he has the ideas that Fox's billionaire owner is willing to pay for. No billionaire wants to fund an anti-capitalist pundit, but plenty are willing to pay for the guy who will say that white people are being replaced when viewers ask what's wrong with this country.
Oh, the replacement theory.
And this is frustrating, because what do liberals do about this state of affairs? Well, first, they usually refuse to recognize that a system of private ownership of media institutions creates these consequences.
Okay.
They refuse to acknowledge that capitalist-owned media obviously promotes pro-capitalist politics, and in times of acute trouble, has a tendency to scapegoat capitalism's problems by blaming them on black people, Asian people, immigrants, trans people,
others,
Jewish people, or really anyone whose identity is immutable and easy to victimize. Liberals don't like talking about media ownership like this, at least not so directly or in such terms, because acknowledging it would mean admitting that having the best argument isn't always enough. Liberals prefer to believe that the political system is value neutral, and that any idea, like any business, can thrive in the marketplace on merit alone. But once again, like in business, that's simply not true. The socio-political capitalist system is not neutral to the arguments that inhabit it. Some arguments will win not on their merit, but on their ability to conform with the system and its actors. In practice, some ideas won't get broadcast very much or will get outright censored, some will be able to roam freely, and some will get a boost.
Oh my God. Oh, bro. Okay, listen, I respect you studying all these things, guys. Oh God. This graph, this chart, this image here is absolutely factual, it seems. I mean, listen, so certain, and I honestly, guys, not even certain. I'd say most mainstream media is not going to post anything critical of capitalism. Absolutely. Not in the United States of America. Not happening. Then all of the things that pit people against each other are absolutely tolerated. Seriously. And that's from honestly both sides of the table here, guys. I mean, one may be a little bit more, more of that, absolutely, right? But they're both going to chase those, fallacious taglines and titles, guys. They absolutely are going to do that. It is tolerated. And yeah, the ideas that promote the concept of, work till you die, absolutely is promoted, guys. Oh God, guys, he's right. But all right.
It's just not enough to simply send ideas out there. Okay. Mainly because there are better funded ideas out there waiting in the shadows to beat the shit out of them.
Okay.
And it probably doesn't help that at the end of the day, Democrats need money too. To get election funding, you need billionaires just like the conservatives do. Rejecting capitalism makes it really hard to get on TV stations owned by capitalists on favorable terms, harder to advertise yourself, and therefore harder to win. So what do Democrats do instead if they can't or are unwilling to criticize the conditions in which ideological debate happens? What do they do since they assume that the conditions are mostly fair for everyone because there's no one actively censoring the public debate? Well, they'll blame the extremes for getting things out of whack, find comfort in the idea that, given due time, things will eventually resolve when the arc of history bends towards justice, and double down by insisting that we must hear both sides. Liberals...
We do, though, right? I mean, this is the thing here. You see, this is where we're kind of, I'm having some trouble here, guys, right? I do think we absolutely need to hear... unfortunately, both sides. We should have many more sides than just two sides. Just to be honest, we should hear all the sides, right? Just to be completely honest here. But since we're talking about in the context of the United States of America, sure, let's listen to the two largest parties. What are their concerns, complaints, and like what are they actually requiring, right? These things are extremely important because we are all Americans, and it is important to hear both sides. I don't really get the issue here. The name of the video is Why Hearing Both Sides is Dangerous. I'm still trying to find out exactly why both sides are dangerous. I guess depending on the type of person that's actually hearing the sides, because if they can't read through the lines, right, then they may have some issues, guys.
Cling to the idea that even though this process of idealistic debate, whether in privately owned media or in government, was not meant to work for the realization of justice, but to preserve the hierarchical order that benefited its founders, that it is still immoral to work outside of it, and equally so from the left or the right. Liberals are desperate for a political process that can work in all circumstances, that can be perfectly neutral in the way it gives space for divergent ideas and can totally abstract the stark power imbalances of the real world through reason alone. But it can't. And simultaneously, they refuse to challenge the capitalist economic system that builds those very same power imbalances into reality. What we're left with is a call to hear both sides in a world that will heavily cater to one side. The side that is prepared to dispose of everyone outside an ever-shrinking in-group before admitting that there might be something wrong with our current economic model. In more concrete terms, it looks like this. Every year between 2003 and 2010, climate change denial organizations had an income over $900 million. $900 million that they could spend on spreading disinformation. Almost $1 billion to set the terms of what one of the two sides would be. On TV, it meant having a climate change denier pitted against a climate scientist, with the implication that the two sides of the debate were equally worthy of consideration.
They're not equal at all.
And that the audience could make up their minds between two mostly evenly matched arguments. When there is a dogmatic commitment to hear both sides, but no analytical model to understand how both sides form, this is what you get. A model of public debate where one side can pay to set the terms of the conversation. And in the process, artificially delay a public decision in their favor. Fossil fuel companies paid for the debate to be between climate change's existence and climate change being a farce. And it won them enough time to shift the debate to where it is today, where climate change is now broadly acknowledged, but now we debate how quickly we really want to adapt, once again buying them more time. Time itself is a tool in a bad faith debater's hand.
Right.
So long as we continue debating on these terms and delay the moment where we commit to a decision, the current state of affairs continues uninterrupted. But we don't have to treat ideas like these, ideas that are more compatible with the capitalist system, as equal to ideas that are more compatible with our values of justice. We know that putting a climate denier on equal footing with a climate scientist on TV is not objectivity. The two positions are not equivalent. One is obviously wrong, and it is okay.
One is just saying these things because he's being paid to say these things, right? And the other one has study. I get it, bro. Let's get
In fact, it is the moral...
Listen, I'm still going to drive my V8, though, until I can't. But I'm still going to drive it.
Imperative to treat these two positions with imbalance. Then we know about things like the paradox of intolerance. A society that tolerates intolerance runs the risk of, should the circumstances prove favorable, losing out to intolerance. It is okay to be committed to tolerance and, in an effort to protect it, therefore to limit the spread of intolerant ideas.
What's funny is, well, not really funny, but my wife is from Spain, right? So when we have these conversations, kind of regarding these type of topics, she's like, how does America allow these people to even exist, right? I mean, they would be wiped off the map, bro, like in many other countries, but for some reason, I guess maybe this is the hearing both sides things. Like, does their side even matter, bro? I mean, yeah, they're Americans, but like, do you even care? Like, why are they having a parade? Why are the police protecting them? I'm just, that's the type of, thing that my wife generally says about regarding these topics here. It's just like, bro, why are we even allowing these people to talk? Should they be allowed to? Because she can only give reference to what she knows, and that I'm not sure that this would be allowed, right? Under any circumstance. I guess it goes, and it can't just go under like the concept of hate speech, because this is something different, bro. Right? This is not just that, because obviously the argument against hate speech is, or the argument against banning hate speech is, who decides what hate speech is? It can always define. It can always be changed, things like that. I get that, but I don't know if we should be allowing these people to walk in the streets. Listen, maybe I've been out of America for too long. Maybe I've just, again, my whole idea of reality has changed. That could happen. And that generally happens with, with massive, a movement. And when you move to another place, you tend to kind of soak in their ideologies and things like that. But I don't know why we allow these people to walk the streets. I don't get it. I'm just going to be honest. I don't get it. But, they're Americans. Let them do their thing, right? But still.
So, while it is important to listen to different perspectives, there is nothing wrong with determining one of them to be more correct or more valid than the other. That's the ultimate goal of reflection and scientific inquiry. Having convictions doesn't make you an extremist. It doesn't make you unreasonable or not pragmatic. It makes you a human being who's willing to stand up for what you believe is right rather than let bad ideas have free rein. There are times when two people can disagree and both have valid points. But there are also times when one narrative should be dismissed outright.
Yeah, those people walking the streets, bro. Listen, what? Come on now, okay?
Not every idea is a good one.
Yeah,
Do your research, adjust your perspective.
People don't like doing research.
Based on new evidence, and don't be afraid to
They
pick a
will
side.
not adjust based on
Sometimes it's the right thing to do.
new evidence, bro.
I'll end on an MLK quote from his letter from Birmingham jail, because, let's be honest, it's easy points. See you next week.
Okay.
First, I must confess that over the past few years I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action.
That's the whole Democrat Party.
Who paternalistically believes
entirety
he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises a Negro to wait for a more convenient season.
Please vote for us now. We'll do nothing for you ever, right? Until another 4 years when we'll ask for your vote again to do nothing again.
Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will.
And like, guys, when this happened here, this here in the background, how are they all, bro? They should have all been arrested. Right? They should have all been arrested. They should literally have their face plastered all over every single news network so they'll never be hired to work again. I don't care, bro. Listen, they could be reformed, bro. They don't even matter anymore, bro. Put their face on TV so everyone can see them, bro. And that's it. That's what you do, right? That's how you move. That's how you do this going forward, bro. Right? We could talk about again, I don't care what their side is. I don't care what their argument is. Like, none of that even matters, if that makes any sense. So if that's a side you're asking me to pick from, bro, put all of their faces on TV.
Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that law and order exist for the purpose of establishing justice, and that when they fail in this purpose, they become the dangerously structured dams that block the flow to social progress. I had hoped that white moderates would understand.
Bro. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that this kind of content...
All right, guys, listen. So overall, I get the point that was trying to be made here. It makes all the sense in the world. If it comes to like these just ridiculous extremists, these literal hate groups who just hate other people because they look different than them, or they're from a different place, because they're looking for excuses for why they are not successful, but refuse to blame the actual system that may be crippling them. Guys, we are in late stage capitalism. It has run rampant. So that's a thing that happened, that's happening. We're probably going to be going, unfortunately, up into some type of financial repression soon. Just be fully aware. And with interest rates rising as they are rising, with the federal government having to basically print money, they're basically going to be deciding soon if they're going to basically devalue the dollar, right? Or stop the government's ability to spend as they have been, right? I'm trying to see how they're going to decide, obviously, because it means something to everyone, right? If they decide to devalue the dollar, then anything you have in your bank is basically gone, right? And if they do some type of financial repression, we should be seeing probably the next couple of months, maybe, that they're looking to stop withdrawals from your accounts in any meaningful sum. Right, so let's say you have $10,000 in your account, and they then are going to say, well, daily withdrawals are now set to nothing more than $1,000. That means that we are stepping into financial repression. That means that they are taking your money, basically, and using it to get more money from the Federal Reserve, guys. That's basically what's happening. What will be happening if they decide to devalue. If they choose themselves over the people. That's basically what's happening, guys. It's absolutely a sad thing, right? This capitalist system that we're running into, very specifically in this time, right? just if you can, store your money in some euros, maybe, guys, or move the money out. First of all, you shouldn't be saving $10,000 in no bank account anyway. That sounds ridiculous, bro. The money that you're getting from Bank of America is probably like 10 cents for every $10,000, bro. If that, 5 cents, guys. That's not a lucrative place to be keeping your money anyway. Please move your money out of these banks, guys. That's just where that is. Find maybe some type of CD that could potentially keep up with the rate of inflation. I don't know what it is right now, but I think some of the rates for some solid CDs are going to be like maybe 4.79%. I think Citizens has one that's like close to 7%. These type of things is the only way to kind of escape this system. But if they start limiting what you can withdraw, guys, it's too late. Right? Store your money in an asset, maybe, or just something, bro, because the way this is looking, the way this is turning out is absolutely horrendous for the U.S. population, guys. Right? Euros is a really good place to store your money because, at one time the euro was less than the dollar, and now the euro is like much higher than a dollar, guys. And it's crazy, bro. Store your money in euros. Euro's not going anywhere, apparently, guys, right? At least in comparison to what the U.S. dollar will most likely be doing in the next year, right? Store your money in assets or a way that you can kind of take it away from just take it out of the United States before they basically melt your money away to nothing. All right. No financial advice. I'm just having a conversation with you guys. What I would do personally, what I have absolutely done. I don't store nothing in the United States under any circumstance, because it's devaluing way too quickly. Way too quickly. And I still, and obviously you want to have your money, somewhat liquid still, so you can actually, access it. So a CD, you're not going to be able to access your money, right? But guys, do what you want to do, bros. But get your money out of the United States of America, guys. Listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day and enjoy your day thoroughly.